you've never traveled. Every dress you've never worn. Every breath you've never taken. Every beat you've never felt. Every welcome you've never known. Welcome to a journey you've never imagined. Welcome to Arabia, Saudi.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Hadley Gamble, CNBC's senior international correspondent and anchor here in the UAE, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you once again to the Arabian travel market. We're thrilled actually to be talking about a subject that's quite close to my heart, and that, of course, is Saudi tourism and the future of Saudi Arabia's travel market. I'm joined on the stage by three of our guests, one of whom will be virtual as well. Fahd Hamidaddin, he is the CEO of the Saudi Tourism Authority. Majed Alnefaie, he is the acting CEO of the Seera Group. Dr. Afnan Alshuaiby is the founder and CEO of FNN International, and she's also chairperson of the Arab International Women's Forum. And joining us virtually, because we have to have at least one person virtually, is Captain Ibrahim Koshy. He's the CEO of Saudia, and he will be at some point up on the screen behind me. I wanted to just kick off by asking the panelists to briefly run us through how they see the challenges post-COVID, not just for travel market generally, but for Saudi Arabia, because it's such an unfortunate thing that Saudi Arabia was right on the cusp of so many exciting announcements. And then, of course, COVID seemed to set us back for about 18 months. But now Saudi Arabia is opening up, as is so much of the rest of the world, and there are so many exciting opportunities to be there. I'd like to kick off with you.
Well, thank you, Hadley. And I would like to first thank Reed for their commitment in putting this ATM and getting us all together here. This is particularly the time where we need to collaborate and, send messages of confidence and hope. And I'm very happy to be with you here and in Dubai, a city that never stopped to inspire and present Middle East as a very attractive destination. Now, going to your question, I would say, Saudi is just part of the world. While the world has lost over 100 million jobs and businesses were struggling, seeking clarity, alignment on the way forward, COVID kept surprising us with and disappointing us with one news after the other. However, while the sector was paralyzed globally, I think Saudi was on the go. It kept moving. And I would say, while we were trying to prioritize and commit to saving lives, we were also committed to saving livelihood and protecting jobs. I think this was protecting businesses and jobs, right from government support to activation of domestic tourism and developing the small entrepreneurs that are probably the first to be in pain suffering from the repercussions of such pandemic. So maybe I would just focus on how we did during the summer and winter, the domestic tourism. I think we had probably one of the most domestic tourism campaigns that were successful in the world. And for Saudi, what it did, it gave us 33% increase in spend. It got our hotel occupancies to 50%. In some summer destination and winter destination, we had full occupancies. It raised the number of DMCs from 17 to 93. Surprisingly, women were shaping that growth or leading that growth. So I think there was a lot done, but I would probably say domestic tourism was our greatest success.
Majed, obviously, as CEO of Seera Group, by the way, I don't know if you know, but your stock's up today. I was just checking the price. Obviously, it's a huge day for Saudi Arabia to be reopening as a destination. How do you see this impacting your bottom line this year?
Honest, it wasn't easy. It was a too tough year. But we are, I can say in our group, we had a quick reaction when the COVID-19 started. We like to be always, as you said, it was a challenge. we take it in a positive way. We turn on inside our organization. We focus about how to keep our team with us. We don't want anybody to lose their job. That it was one of our challenge, because we have a good, talented people. We invest a lot in our team member. So we turn inside our organization and we focus in our training, how we can improve our technology. As you know, we start in the transformation in our group starting from end of 2015 up to 2018, and it was a great transformation happened inside our group to reach the latest technology update in the world, and that it helped us to communicate with the providers and with our client in an easy way. So we focused to how to improve our technology, how, through our academy, we did a lot of training and session for our team to, solve, in a rush time, 2016, 17, 18, we were searching for a time to go back and look for our client, like complaint, and we had enough time this year. We focus on that complaints. We take it as a serious issue, how we can fix, how we can improve. And I can say it in a positive way. COVID-19, it was a great year that it drive us to focus in our, our country. We start our new brand, Discover Saudi Arabia, 3 months before the COVID-19 start, and we could take this challenge. And as Mr. Fahd said, we discover our countries. We saw our people want to go from east to west, from north to south, and they are interested and they're enjoying. And honest, we were facing that there is no availability in the flight, in the hotels, and it makes us, happy that we did not stay in a sleep mode. We were working in the whole 18 or 16 months, and we wish now to restart again for outbound and inbound in the same time, because now we have really high demand from our people inside to go around our country. Plus, we have a lot of requests for people who want to come from outside to discover our country.
No doubt about it. Dr. Alshuaiby, when you think about the last year or so, one of the things, of course, that we've seen globally is that the pandemic has been very, very tough on women in terms of employment numbers. But one of the pillars, of course, of Saudi Vision 2030 was to put women to work. And obviously the tourism sector was billed to be the number 2 moneymaker for Saudi Arabia besides petrodollars. How do you see this as we move forward in terms of employment for women and bringing them into the workplace?
I have to say, since the announcement of Vision 2030, there have been so many opportunities, especially for women. In the past, women were really looking for opportunities, different sectors. Tourism now is one of the most amazing sectors that you can work in. Many opportunities, not just in the field of tourism, but you have education, training, but also when you work in tourism, there's passion. And I say this after living so many years abroad between the United Kingdom and the US, and hearing people saying, we want to visit Saudi Arabia. At that time, there were some restrictions. People could not come easily to Saudi with visa restrictions. There has to be a purpose. I always used to talk passionately, not just because of my country, but there's so much to offer in Saudi Arabia. So once all this happened, there were so many opportunities for so many women in tourism. And you can see every day is a new day. And actually, I spoke about this some time ago. in 2017, the number of women in the workforce were 17%, I think, and now it's reached to 33%. So that tells you a lot, just in 5 years. So the sky is the limit, and women are there to do so many things. And I say this, it's not just about women, but we complement each other. So whoever can do it, it doesn't matter if he's a man or a woman.
I think we can bring in our virtual panelist now, Captain Koshy. He's the CEO of Saudia. I think we should be able to see him on the screen. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, it's a big day for Saudi Arabia. People are going to be able to come to the kingdom, to leave the kingdom on vacation, to get back in the skies. What's your travel outlook looking like at this point?
Well, many people were excited about the May 17th opening up for the international travel. Before talking about that, I'd like to kind of mirror what some of my colleagues over there are saying. Domestic travel has been quite strong in Saudi Arabia in 2020 and for this first quarter of 21. We've had our 28 domestic stations. We've been operating close to 80% of our 2019 levels. And the number of passengers, let me say the demand is exceeding capacity at times. We have a strong domestic market. And right now, opening up on May 17th for the international, it's something that we'll begin to see the numbers pick up even further. So it is something very exciting for many of the people, even a little bit of leisure travel, not just business and essential travel, but now we're beginning to see the leisure travel picking up as well, to and from the kingdom as well.
In terms of a return to profit, what's your outlook for Saudi? I was just speaking with His Highness Sheikh Ahmed about Emirates and how quickly that cash flow is going to need to be supplemented. He seemed to have a positive outlook for the rest of the year. Where do you think this is headed?
For Saudi Arabia, there's a lot of things that are taking place which actually will accelerate this for us. And so, when we look at our strategy from 21 to 24, IATA is looking at a 24 recovery for the market. We see that 21 to 24 coming out much leaner and stronger, but there's a lot of things which will actually accelerate the profitability status for Saudi Arabian Airlines. So we're looking at 100 million tourists by 2030, the 330 million airport users, the 30 million Umrah visitors annually, 5 million Hajj visitors. The potential market is growing at very fast rates for the kingdom. So there's many opportunities, and depending on how fast we go post-pandemic, we really see profitability definitely at 24 and hopefully even earlier before that. So I think one of the things is don't be too surprised if you see aircraft orders just to meet some of that demand and capacity this year in 21. So there's a lot of growth and a lot of capacity requirements which we are going to have to factor in here.
How do you split that in terms of domestic and international demand?
Well, the international and domestic demand, let me say that the 28 domestic stations that we do have, we have a very good projection of what that's going to look like from a 50%, 50% of our operations are domestic. Now, the growth potential on the international is quite strong. Like when we're talking about Saudi Arabia has finally a major international airport in the city of Jeddah, which we can actually operate as a true regional hub. And this is something we did not have before. So this is our new home. It's a growth for connectivity to and from the kingdom. And that airport is here now. And I was kind of smiling when I heard your comment at the opening about, we were just about to open up, and then this 18-month pandemic, kind of delayed everything. But we're here now, and we're actually able to open up the Jeddah International Airport as a true hub with good connectivity, and it's something that we expect really good O&D traffic, from the King Abdulaziz International Airport in Jeddah.
So right before we started, Fahd and I were discussing the prospects for the Saudi tourism industry, and he said, well, what do you think? And I spent the last 10 years plus back and forth to Saudi Arabia. I've seen so many changes over the last couple of years. I was one of the first international journalists to go to Al Ula, for example, and discover the Nabatean ruins and to really discover different parts of Saudi Arabia. I've been to Taif for the Rose Festival. I've been places that now seem much more open and easily accessible, but at the time were not necessarily they were off the beaten path, if you will. Fahd, give us the sell. What is it that Saudi Arabia has to offer that is totally different from anywhere else?
I think you're due, by the way, for a trip, and there is a lot of.
I'm due for many trips.
No, and to be honest, I keep getting a question from this exhibition: what is next coming for Saudi? And I realize that I think we will always have an answer in a pipeline for the coming 10 years. So, well, the aim is for Saudi to realize its ambition of attracting 100 million visits by 2030. And really what we think Saudi, as one of the largest countries in the world and the most diverse culture and a home of ancient Arabia, has a lot to offer. And whether it is looking at Saudi as a winter sun destination, you have the beautiful Red Sea with all its marine treasures, coral reefs that is probably parallel to none. And then you have the great Arabian dunes. I think both are being looked at with a lens of reimagining what this could look like to address sustainable tourism and the passionate adventure and nature and culture travelers. So that's one. The second is summer escapes. When it's, I don't know if it's politically correct to say this, but when it's quite too hot in the region, there are very few destinations that can offer a summer escape. And the southern south of Saudi, the Arabian Mountains, we claim that it is the highest peak in the area. It offers you below 20 degrees in summer. And the north of Saudi, with the Red Sea, is a great summer escape as well. Then you have a year-long offering for the cultural, curious, authentic experience seekers. And with Al-Ula that you mentioned, that is the magical home of ancient Arabia, and the new, modern, thriving cities, modern Arabia, with all its programming on events. You might have heard about the Riyadh season and these entertainment events. Now, we've been on pause for a year and a half, or probably more, and I can tell you that by end of this year, we're coming back, and we're going to do in a year what we missed in 2 years. So we're very bold on those, I would say. And on top of, Saudi Arabia has always been the destination for the most profound journey for Muslims and on Hajj, but Umrah is where there is a great potential for growth.
When you think about this with regards to investment potential, what are we talking about? We're not just talking about hotels and theme parks. There are other avenues for investment from the private sector as well.
So when you talk about investment, I think there's a lot happening, and a lot can say, about their investment opportunities. But I can tell you probably 3 things. One, no one can say they're investing in tourism anywhere like we are. I don't think any could say that they're investing in projects of the scale that we're doing anywhere in the world. While the industry was really, fighting for survival, our kitchen was hot. We announced 16 projects in 2020. We probably were one of the very few that witnessed and registered a positive FDI. We've seen brands coming into Saudi, Hilton, Marriott, all signing in. So we're very bullish about investment, and we're creating arms from the government, like the Tourism Development Fund signed 16 projects and funded private sector. I told you about DMCs. When we started last year, we had 17 small DMCs. Today, I think we exceeded 93. And by the way, when I was listening to Afnan talking, I realized how female biased this panel is, at least the ones on stage. Both Majed and I are fathers of girls. So I'm a father of 2 girls, and he's a father of 3 girls. So we're so pro-women. And I am very proud to see not just the businesses and entrepreneurs really taking this opportunity and the investment opportunities in this sector, but also seeing how female-oriented and driven this industry. I mean, I'm new to this sector. I'm only there for the past 2 years. And one of the things that was very evident, that 68% globally, whether it's 68 or 62, whatever the number is, but the majority of travel choices are made by women. So it is no surprise for me to be so proud today to say STA, the Saudi Tourism Authority, has the highest women, as in female, employment in the government of Saudi Arabia. And so kudos to all of those women, and kudos to the female entrepreneurs. We did a talent show last season, just 3 months ago. It was the first talent show in tourism experiences for young entrepreneurs. The #1 award went to women, and out of the 8, 6 went to women. So it's just fascinating what we're witnessing.
When you think about that a little bit more broadly, we're talking about investment. And Saudi Arabia is not the only one guilty of this. When we talk about big mega projects, the Gulf Arab countries often introduce mega projects, and then they just sort of percolate and go away after a few years, and we never hear of them again. Are all of those 17 projects that you're talking about, are they going to come to fruition?
Thank you very much for asking that question. Let me tell you what's different this time. I think this is not about tourism. This is not about those projects. This is about a new Saudi Arabia. If you look, I mean, the best indicator of the future is the past. So you're referring to the past, but let's look at the near past. Has there been any project that was announced by the government in the past 4 years that did not materialize or did not progress? I would challenge those that say yes. So I think there is a new Saudi. We have a new central leadership that tracks KPIs, deadlines, delivery, and what is different about these giga projects versus all what was announced before is that these are made by the government. They're committed by the government. And if anything, what we witnessed the last year is the announcements from the Crown Prince and how much more the government and PIF is committing and announcing investment in the local market. So about the 16 projects, these are not government projects, these are private sector. These have great feasibility studies. Will they materialize? I don't see why not.
Majed, I want to bring you in on this one in terms of what you're seeing in the interests. Obviously, we talked about the domestic tourism market over the last year or so has been quite strong. Now you have the ability to tap into that international market once again. What's attractive, do you think, to tourists looking to come to Saudi Arabia? Are they looking for an Al Ula? Are they looking for a theme park? Do they want to try out Neom? What is it that they're trying to come and see in Saudi?
As Mr. Fahd said, that we have an advantage, a different weather from east to west, mountain and sea, and the great area to do diving or something. So we have, features and choices, multi-choices available for our client. We have a great exercise with Al Ula in 2019 through our brand Al Musafir. It was a great experience. People come from everywhere. I could not imagine that people will come from end of the world to come to Al Ula and enjoy their stay there. Even in religion side, people who come for Umrah, they like to extend their stay and match it with a tour in other cities, to go to the sea, to go to the mountain, to see our country. And if you talk about what happened last 2 years for seasons, the seasons, it wasn't like, it was like a market campaign in a short period to show that everybody can come from outside and enjoy with the multi-choices, entertainment, and people like it. We tested, and now we saw Ministry of Tourism and Authority of Tourism, they are trying to extend what happened in the season to be stable the whole year for Saudi and non-Saudi who will come to visit Saudi. For us, we are seeing any opportunity or any zone of our area inbound, it is opportunity to spend and invest to increase our market share, and with support we are getting really, I'm not talking about it like, enormous bit. We are getting the fully support from Ministry of Tourism. They are doing kind of help with funding that now we're going to start for 5 or 6 hotels, more than 1,200 rooms in a small city and big city in Saudi Arabia. So that will help our inventory, that will solve our issue that we faced in last year, that we have a demand, we don't have enough inventory. And we are investing with them to have the full infrastructure. Plus, we have announced in this day that we sign a good partnership with Clock that will take up our destination in Saudi Arabia to be in the digital platform available for everybody around the world who can see what we have and he can book it in an easy way and reach it.
Dr. Alshuaiby, when you think about this against the backdrop of not just what's been happening over the last year or so with COVID-19, the impact on women, but also the impact for women in Saudi Arabia as a result of Vision 2030. You were talking about it, how employment of women has gone up from 17% to over 33% in just such a short amount of time. How do you see the impact of a burgeoning tourism sector on the socioeconomic advancement of women in Saudi?
I think the tourism sector has opened many opportunities for women because, as I mentioned before, it's not just about the tourism, it's not just about showcasing the country, it's more about other things, education, training. There are a lot of new centers, and I think Mr. Fahd can explain more about that or elaborate more. There are a lot of centers that are being opened, academies, college-likes, if I may say, training centers of hospitality, of so many things of that sector. So imagine, Saudi Arabia is huge. I look at it as a mini continent. A lot of people say, so how big is the country? And this is the way I put it. To get from east to west, it's about a 3-hour flight. It's not a drive. So that tells you how big it is, and from north to south. And as the gentleman mentioned, every part of Saudi Arabia is different. Heritage, culture, the people, what we eat, the food, the cuisine. The cuisine is amazing. I mean, I talk about it, and I am a native of Saudi Arabia. But you know what? I would love to take, and I said this to one of our seniors some time ago, everybody I meet, I wish I could bring all these people my invitation to visit Saudi Arabia, not just because it's a different country, but it offers so much on everything. So just going back to your question, definitely, women have a big role. I don't want to say this and sound I'm biased to women, but women have a way of explaining things, I don't want to say better than men, but we tend to be passionate when we talk about something. Men are really business-oriented. And I'm talking about the younger generation. Saudi Arabia's population is very young. And these people, or these young people, men and women, are very passionate about what they do, very well educated, very sophisticated, and they are passionate about what they do. And if I may just add, this is a word the Crown Prince used in his last interview. He used the words passionate a lot. So if you don't have the passion, you cannot contribute. And I think everybody nowadays in the country is very passionate.
Fahd, it's interesting, isn't it? Because speaking to that a little bit more broadly, obviously, this is an opportunity with international tourism to expose a lot of young Saudis to a world that they haven't seen before. I mean, Saudi Arabia has one of the most successful student programs of sending students abroad of any other country in this region. Thousands of Saudis go abroad and to the United States and the West particularly for a university, for example, every single year. But in terms of bringing that international flavor to the kingdom, how do you think that's going to change the lives of young people?
I think looking at the demographics of Saudi, and I'm sure you know this very well, probably you're more updated with the numbers, but the young is just, the youth of Saudi Arabia is very different. The majority, we're talking about 70% of the population. I think Saudi Arabia is taking a turn, or has taken a turn, right from 2015, when leadership reins were given to someone as young as our crown prince. And that is the wisdom of the king. That is given so much to someone as young and as ambitious. Now, and I think there are I think what the crown prince represents, he represents a phenomena of representation. So the Saudi generation is nothing but a reflection of aspirations, maybe not in full, but in part of what the crown prince resembles. And I genuinely mean it. So when it comes to the average age of the industry, you see young are taking this industry full-heartedly, taking risk, because any service sector is very much dependent on entrepreneurship and creativity, customer service. And the young generation is looking at this sector and looking at the world with real open hearts and open minds. And as you said, most of these people that were on scholarships, and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of them, came back and they've made friends back in these countries. So today, most of those students now are going to be hosts of international friends and families. And I think this is the beauty of tourism. I mean, if anything, incrementally to many other sectors, tourism creates a new conversation that is so humane, that is so humane probably is the word, and it creates a parallel conversation to any other conversation countries actually have. It is the real demonstration, without any design, without any planning. It is the greatest soft power for countries.
Captain Koshy, I wanted to bring you in. We touched on this a little bit in terms of infrastructure to support not just what's happening in the domestic travel market, but also what's happening in, or about to happen potentially in the international travel market for Saudi Arabia. When you think about this with regards to opportunities for investment, we're talking about building scope and capacity, and you're going to have to do that pretty quickly. Where do you see opportunities to do that in terms of investment potential?
Well, when you look at it, any kind of destination development, there's a lot of partnership between industry, government, private, and public sector. And it's not just the infrastructure needs like the hotels, resorts, and the recreational, cultural activities. So where there are opportunities which exist there, but also, we need to coordinate capacity for the travel coming to and from those markets. So if you're talking about the potential of growth for travel, say, to and from Riyadh, there's very large opportunities there. When we look at the Red Sea development and all that's happening along the coast of the Red Sea, there's many things that, for recreational, cultural activities, the hotels, even smaller level transportation needs, which are going to be required. So I know, like, from the airline perspective, building a route between any two cities, there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of things regarding how you promote that route, ensuring that you have the destination ready to accommodate that demand. So I know there's going to have to be a lot of coordination between industry, government, and the different sectors of private and public to get there. But from the airline perspective, we're going to be there ready to put that capacity. And I think maybe just for the opportunities of investment, I think those that are on the stage with you would probably give a better input onto that one.
When you think about that, with regards obviously to your bottom line, I ask CEOs of airlines this quite often. That, of course, is what is a good oil price to keep you guys in the sky and keep a profit. Obviously, we've seen a lot of volatility over the last year and a half or so with COVID-19. And that can work for and against you, depending on how much you're relying on your government to support you. What's a good oil price for Saudi?
Right now, I'll tell you, which many people don't really understand. We pay international market prices, so the lower the price of oil for us, the better. But from a government and industry perspective, that's different. But then at the same time, higher oil prices or a stable oil price creates that demand. You know, there's a lot that happens there. You know, so if I talk about it just from a purely airline perspective, lower fuel prices add to the bottom line for the airline. But that does not contribute to an overall economy. There has to be a balanced, a stable price there. I think it's stability more than the price, which is in our interest for everybody.
Fahd, we're coming down to our wire of time. Before I let you guys go, though, I wanted to just ask you about the demographics of the international tourists you see coming to Saudi Arabia. I mean, 10 years ago, I was interviewing Gerald Lawless, who was at that time running Jumeirah Group, for example. They were putting huge projects in China. They were anticipating a huge influx of Asian, Chinese specifically tourists to the UAE, for example. Are you looking for that same kind of flow? Or where's the tourists to Saudi Arabia going to come from?
So the short answer is yes, probably the same. But we've identified 28 markets. We've opened 3 international offices in the last year. We're committed to opening additional 12. So we started with Russia, Germany, and UK. And we have 12 international markets that we're going to address next year. 3 offices in China as an example. So we're probably going after all. Now, we do realize that Saudi will build its visitation numbers through phases. Probably two phases. The first phase is the Discover Saudi phase. And we think there are early adopter travelers. Today you have, after pandemic, you have the revenge traveler, and then you have the cautious traveler. In reality, both will seek things that Saudi Arabia has to offer. But we're also conscious that our new products and services like the Giga projects are not going to be there before 2023. So that's when we start a new era where we say experience Saudi.
Excellent. Unfortunately, we're about out of time, but I just wanted to ask quickly each of the panelists to give me your outlook for the rest of this year. How quickly are we going to get people back in the skies? How quickly are we going to get people into Saudi Arabia?
You want to go first? I don't like the speculation questions, but if anybody can answer that, I mean, I'd pay whatever I can to get the answer. But my guess would be many countries that we track today are aiming for 70% vaccination rates within their populations. I think those that hit that number, I think will hit a tipping point. I know Saudi Arabia is trying to address that, so I think Q4 is going to be a turning point for us. Now, one question I got was, now that borders are opening, how will you retain domestic tourism? I think, as I said, and my colleagues, my panelists also said, the seasons. The seasons is nothing but a World Cup of entertainment. It is a blockbuster festivals that I think will go back big in Q4. And with that, we will retain our domestic travel. And I think with that domestic travel and opening borders for, as I said, revenge travelers and curious travels, because Saudi Arabia is the 6th, the last I read, the 6th most safe destination in the world as far as COVID is concerned. So between all of that, I think I'm very optimistic.
Panelists, I'm actually going to let us go because I know that Majed has to be live on television, and I hate it when people do that to me. Thank you all so much for joining us. Panelists, thank you so much.